Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again. Yeah.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Game On right here on UCY.tv. It is Thursday, June the 9th, and I'll be your host for the next hour. And if anybody has come across any global warming out there they're not using, could you please send it our way? We've had a real cold snap here, and we could use some warmer air. Anyways, I just was at my Communist Broadcasting Corporation here. I'm a little bit late getting here tonight, so I just punched on that. And it seems here that breaking news in Ontario is Ontario Attorney General Madeleine Miller resigns as MPP. Now, this is kind of unexpected. She really likes the police. Besides being the MPP, she's also the Attorney General. So if she resigned as MPP, I would think that she's no longer the Attorney General either. All it says is that Ontario Attorney General Madeleine Miller is resigning as MPP for the riding of Ottawa-Vanier. Her office confirmed Thursday. In a statement released Thursday, Miller said she told Premier Kathleen Wynne she would continue to fulfill her ministerial roles as Attorney General and Minister responsible for Francophone affairs until a replacement was selected. Miller was first elected to the Ontario Legislature in 2003 after more than a decade in municipal politics. Now, why is this woman retiring? Or resigning, excuse me. It says more to come, but that's all that is out here now. Now, I know I call the Attorney General's office a lot. I know a lot of other people are calling the Attorney General's office a lot, looking for answers as to what's going on in this province. A lot of people are getting hammered by the police in this province. The court system's a freaking mess in this province. And the Attorney General, is there some heat coming at her? Is she worried about getting sued? There's a lot of bad stuff going on in this province right now. So I guess we're going to have to just find out what happens here in the next day or so, because they're they're not saying too much about this, but we'll stay up to date with it. Now, let's see here. It just keeps getting more stupid all the time, doesn't it? Oh, here's another story. Let me look at this one here. Let's see. Liberal MP Maury Bellinger's push to change the English lyrics of "O Canada" hit a roadblock Thursday when some Conservative MPs rejected a procedural move that would have allowed another parliamentarian to usher his bill through the House if he's too ill to show up for debate. After question period Thursday, Government Whip Andrew Leslie sought the unanimous consent of MPPs to allow the bill, which would render the national anthem gender neutral, to proceed under his name so as to lessen the burden on Bellinger, who was diagnosed with ALS last fall. Now, gender neutral. We got we got the transgendered bills. We've got a national anthem here. We want gender neutral. You've got the male MPs and MPPs apologizing like a bunch of whoop-ballless dogs to the female MPPs if they felt, uncomfortable with something one of them said. This is the great nutting of the nation is what's going on here, okay? Get your man neutered, right? I'm not talking about vasectomies. I'm talking about getting your nuts knocked off. I am absolutely disgusted at the lack of maleness that's left in this country. It's really getting pathetic. Really getting pathetic. Anyway, so they want to, so this guy's sick. He brought the bill forward, and now they're probably going to make the push to make a gender-neutral anthem. And the gender-neutral anthem theoretically doesn't matter because the national anthem is a song of allegiance to Canada, the corporation. So remember that every time you're at a hockey game or a football game or baseball game or wherever it is the anthem's being played, understand that you are a subject of the crown and Canada is a corporation and the anthem is about and to serving the corporation, not about patriotism to a country. Okay? So it really doesn't matter to me whether they nut it or they don't nut it because the whole thing's false to begin with. O Canada, our home and native land. Well, why isn't it our home? Why is it native land as well? That's another thing that always bothered me. We stand on guard for thee. What do you stand on guard for? You stand on guard for the corporation. And what's raking you over the coals every day? The corporation. What's got its hand in your pocket all the time? The corporation. Okay? You're paying for all the nonsense. And then you turn around and sing allegiance to the company that's beating the hell out of you. So instead of worrying about whether it's a neutral gender anthem or not, why don't you just get your head wrapped around some reality and understand what the anthem is, what the country is. It's a company. It's a corporation. That's all it is. That's all it's ever been. And people need to get their heads around it and get damned angry about the deceptions that we've had to put up with here. Okay, so let's see. I'm with her. Obama endorses Clinton for Democratic nomination. Well, that's not a surprise. That's not a surprise at all. What else we got cooking here? Let me see. New Democrats urge feminist MP to table pay equity law by end of 2016. 1 year of the Syrian refugees programs comes in 1.36 million under budget, says the minister. So we'll be able to bring in some more refugees, I guess. That's always a good thing. Not. Let's see. Senate removes the near-death requirement from the assisted dying bill, so you don't have to be dying to get suicided anymore by the sound of it. Take a quick look at this, because I know they want to allow you to pre-book, if you will. Let's see what this has got to say. The Senate has delivered a setback to the Liberal government's assisted dying bill by voting to amend a key part of the bill that defines who can obtain death with the help of a doctor. Liberal Senator Serge Joel argued that the eligibility should be broadened so all Canadians with a grievous and irremediable medical condition causing enduring suffering can access an assisted death, not just those whose death is reasonably foreseeable. His motion would effectively replace the language of the bill with that of the Supreme Court decision. The motion to remove the near-death criteria passed with a vote of 41 to 30 late Wednesday night. It is upon us to make sure this bill complies with the criteria of the charter decision, Joel said. It's so clear. The amendment was strongly supported by James Cowan, the Senate Liberal leader. We can't exclude people tomorrow who were granted a right under the charter, he said. We cannot restrict medical assistance in dying below the threshold of the Supreme Court of Canada. A number of senators, including Conservative Linda Frum, spoke in favor. She described how hard it was to watch her mother, former CBC broadcaster Barbara Frum, die. She told her colleagues, you can have a lot of life and still support someone else's access, or you can have a level of life and still support someone else's access to physical assisted death. I do not believe there are fates worse than death, said Frum. Senators debated the amendment's merits for close to 6 hours. Yes, sirree. Independent Senator John Wallace said he's concerned about the normalization of suicide. It was echoed by Liberal Terry Mercer, who pointed to areas like the Attawapasket and Woodstock, Ontario, struck by a rash of youth suicides. Well, if you didn't normalize all the things that ought not to be normalized, and that's the whole way that you take down a nation, is you normalize things that were not palatable to the people of the nation, i.e. transgendered nonsense, putting it up where it's above everybody else. And personally, I don't care. I mean, I really don't care. I don't care what what you identify as. If you want to identify yourself as a Mack truck, or you want to identify yourself as an elephant or a squirrel, or whatever it is you want to self-identify, that's your freaking business. I can't help you. You got a mental illness, as simple as that. But don't put their rights above my rights. Okay? As far as I'm concerned, that's against all rules. Okay? You can't go there. And if you haven't watched the video of Yuri Brezhnikov, then I suggest you do so. All you got to do is punch in Yuri Brezhnikov, or you go to my blog, which is CanadianTruths.wordpress.com, and push in simply Yuri in the search bar, and you will get it. And he's ex-KGB guy that swung himself over to the West, and he explains in great detail how he and his buddies were commissioned to take down small countries and that. He goes through the entire process and how they normalize things. Okay? And there's nothing normal about suicide. There's nothing normal about doctor-assisted suicide. Okay? What this is this, we're just back into the genocide again. And the amazing thing about that, to me, is that genocide, like forced sterilization and that, was still legal in Alberta, Canada, all the way up to, I think it was 1972, that they could target someone and say that you're mentally unfit or this or that, and forcibly sterilize you right here in Canada. So, we have the depopulation program going. Make no mistake about it. It will they sell it as they care. They sell it as safety. What they're really selling is money, okay? It's a corporation. The country's a corporation. If you're sick, you're costing the corporation a lot of money. If you're elderly and collecting a pension, you're costing the corporation money. So they want to bring that on down. I mean, I did read a report maybe a year or two ago, and it was in one of the mainstream papers here in Canada that, your grandparents may have lived a long, healthy life, but no one will live that long again. It was right in the paper. Well, wait a minute. With all these medical advances in that, you mean my grandparents lived a long, healthy life, which they did, but no generation after the grandparents are going to live as long as the grandparents. What are they telling you? They're going to put you down. All you got to do is look at the ingredients on your food labels or the ingredients in your water bottles or look up in the sky. Have another vaccination. Anyways, back to this. Maybe we're counseling and abetting people to commit suicide. Really? Geez, there's a thought. Because you're going to end up with a whole bunch more government and private counselors. It'd be like the Children's Aid Society, CAS, okay? It's a bounty on children. Okay, they were legislated by the government, but they're outside the reach of the government. And their job supposedly to look after children that aren't being looked after. The problem is they get a bounty on each kid. And I had quite a long interview at a CAS office a few years back. And we went through this stuff. And they didn't like to look at it. The woman I was speaking with there didn't like the idea of equating it with bounty on children. But, I explained it to her. I said, well, wait a minute. You only get paid by your client list. Each client is worth X amount of money. So if you have no children on your client list, then nobody here is getting a paycheck. Now, if you want to upgrade the office or you want to hire some new staff or get some new equipment, maybe put a roof on the building, you need money, where are you going to get it? The only place you can get the money at CAS is by expanding your client list. That means you got to go out and hunt down a kid. And that's exactly what they're doing. The same thing's going to happen with this assisted suicide thing. As they normalize it further, you will have people out there actually talking people into committing suicide. Okay? Now, all the pharmaceuticals people are taking, a lot of them are having mental problems from them. A lot of them that would like to get off them can't get off them. They get deeply depressed. They get suicidal. Now you've got these counselors out there who are going to be getting paid per head of those they can talk into getting suicided. It's that freaking simple. It's a company. Remember, it's a company. It's a corporation. It's a corporation. And what's the deal on a corporation? What's the bottom line? And so there you go. So look out for your elderly parents, please. Look out for your children, please. Look out for those who in your family may have suffered some kind of trauma and depressed or something. Please look after them. Do not get suckered into believing that these counselors know best. Okay? These are just going to end up being hired government or private hitmen and women. That's what they are. If there's money involved in it, you can bet your bottom dollar that there's going to be some slime balls out there more than willing to go get it. And if they got to talk you into suiciding yourself or one of your family members to get it, trust me, they will do it. There's so many creeps out there running around, just look at your government. It's full of creeps. They're all lying at you. Every one of them's a friggin' liar. So to trust these guys with your family's health, or whether or not they're going to suicide themselves, or suicide was always looked at as a crime, right? To take a life is a crime. To take your own life is a crime. But now we're going to end up setting up boutiques, little death boutiques, just like in that frickin' movie Soylent Green, which the book was forwarded, and I can't remember, it's either Make Room, or Leave Room is a double name on it. It's one of them two, but it was forwarded by Paul Ehrlich, who from the population bomb, telling us we're way overpopulated. And that book came out way back in, I think, the early 70s. They were convinced that we were overpopulated then. And if you haven't seen the movie, watch the movie. You don't watch the whole movie, just watch the ending scenes where Saul, the old guy, Edward G. Robinson, takes off down to the death boutique. And they put you on a nice bed and have a surround screen, and it's all nature and deer and waterfalls, and it's so soothing. And they put you down and they make you biscuits out of you, which they feed to the other people. This is where we're headed. And if you haven't noticed yet, your politicians, those who are supposed to serve you, don't. They serve the corporation. They take the oath to the corporation, not to you. And if you haven't noticed, they're all pushing green energy at you, which is a fraud. They're all pushing conserve energy, conserve water. It's all frauds. It's all based on the global warming fraud. And so why would your politicians all be this stupid? Well, simple. They're pushing an international program down your throat. But it's always because we care. The amendment, let's see, where was I here? Maybe we're counseling and abetting people to commit suicide or in contravention of those laws, he asked. I think that caution needs to be used. Damn right it needs to be used. I also wrestle with the fact that we can't put the toothpaste back in the tube here. Well, actually, you could, but you're not gonna because the international program says you don't. Independent Ann Cools came out against the amendment, saying it was too broad. This House is under no obligation to be obedient of Carter, she said. We have to look at the broader and more expansive set of facts. This is an extremely weighty matter, and it's creating a lot of fear in many of us. I know a lot of doctors who are apprehensive. Senator Peter Hardy, the government representative in the Red Chamber, argued the bill is charter compliant and said the rewording largely guts the bill. The amended bill could face a standstill once it returns to the House of Commons. Speaking to reporters on Wednesday afternoon, Justice Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould said her government worked incredibly hard on Bill C-14 and has found a balance between personal autonomy and protecting the vulnerable. It's a first step. This is going to be a discussion that goes on for years to come, a necessary discussion, but the balance that we fought for and sought so concertedly and comprehensively is reflected in Bill C-14, she said. Raybould said removing reasonable foreseeability would require the government to add more safeguards. In anticipation, conservative Senate leader Claude Kerrigan is set to introduce an amendment that would impose an additional safeguard requiring a judge to sign off on an application for assisted dying by anyone who is not close to death. So you're not close to death. And let's see, it's a safeguard. So on an application for assisted dying by anyone who is not close to death. So you're not close to death, so you go see the judge who's going to get paid for signing the paperwork. And even though you're not close to death, you can go to the judge and the judge will sign it for some money. And then you can go ahead and get yourself assisted suicided. This is really pathetic. But this is the era we live in, and it's just going to keep getting more and more bizarre if we don't put our foot down. Let's see. What else we got here? Hillary Clinton leads Donald Trump in the all-important Electoral College, polls suggest. Now, this is a word that really drives me nuts. Suggest. The scientists suggest that possibly we evolved from paper clips. I mean, that's how retarded things are. Hillary Clinton leads Donald Trump in the all-important Electoral College. Now, see, that would be a statement. Now, does Hillary Clinton lead Donald Trump in the all-important Electoral College? Of which I'm not following this election at all. I'm just talking about this headline. It's a statement says Hillary Clinton leads Donald Trump in the all-important Electoral College, comma, polls suggest. Okay? So you take a statement and you turn it into a suggestion, and that's how they work your minds. Right? There's absolutely no evidence, and I don't care either way, but there's no evidence that Hillary Clinton is leading Donald Trump or Donald Trump is leading Hillary Clinton or anything else. But some polls suggest that could be the case. Well, then don't print it. If you don't know what the hell you're talking about, shut up. We know, let's go through a little bit of this. After finally securing a majority of pledged delegates in the Democratic presidential nomination last night, and a majority of all delegates, including superdelegates, on Monday, Hillary Clinton is now the presumptive Democratic nominee. So now we're presuming that Hillary is a Democratic nominee. It doesn't say she's the Democratic nominee. We're presuming that she is the Democratic nominee. You see how badly this crap's written? Only Donald Trump now stands between her and the White House. Okay, so Donald Trump is made the enemy in this case because only Donald Trump stands in the way. Now we just got to get Donald Trump out of the way and she gets the White House. And her chances still look good against the erratic and unpredictable Republican candidate. Now, I don't know, Donald Trump ought to sue these guys for libel or something, or defamation of character. Although I'm not a Trump fan and I'm not a Clinton fan. I'm not anybody's getting elected fan. But this is so badly written. I mean, this is so partisan. It's pathetic. And this is out of the Canadian Communist Broadcasting Corporation news site. I don't even know why this is being reported up here. None of our business. What's it got to do with us? Absolutely nothing. But this right from the very headline, and I'm only down the first paragraph, is absolutely ridiculous. What is the CBC doing promoting Hillary Clinton and denouncing Donald Trump? I mean, Donald Trump, and I haven't been following the election much, but when I do see a news thing go by or a video go by me, it's always, Trump's, if we elect Trump, I mean, the mayor of London, who is a hardcore Islamic Muslim, who is there to destroy the West, is bitching about Donald Trump. After closing the gap on his Democratic rival, Trump has failed to maintain that forward momentum in recent polls. Though he still trails Clinton by a handful of points nationwide, the electoral map remains an imposing challenge for him. Well, obviously, because if you look at the connections to the Clintons, what are the odds on Donald Trump being elected? I'm going to go with none. I called Hillary Clinton a long time ago. All that Bernie and Trump were was the sideshow. There was very little reporting on what Clinton was up to. And so boom, up the middle, eh? According to a CBC weighted average of mainstream national and state level polls, full mythology below, yes, I can imagine, Clinton currently enjoys the support of 48.9% of decided American voters. Well, we know that's incorrect. And Trump trails at 44.9%, and we know that's incorrect. Well, just over 6% of the Americans say they would vote for neither or another candidate, such as Libertarian nominee Gary Johnson. Clinton's lead in the polls, though narrower than it was 2 months ago, has held consistently since Donald Trump won Indiana and forced his Republican rivals out of that party's nomination battle. In the 31 major national polls published since then, Clinton has led in 28 of them. She has led in 13 consecutive surveys. Democrats race technically not over, but it's over. But she has not led over Trump by as wide of a margin as has Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, her opponent for the Democrats. The Sanders camp has made the argument the Democratic race is not over yet. He is technically correct. Washington, D.C. still has to vote next Tuesday, and the final decision will only be made at the party's national convention in Philadelphia in July. But by any standard measure, Clinton has clinched the nomination. Not only has she won a majority of the pledged delegates that were up for grabs in the Democratic primaries and the caucuses, there aren't enough delegates at stake in Washington, D.C. to change that, but enough superdelegates have pledged their support to Clinton to give her a majority of all delegates that will be voting in Philadelphia. I don't know how you string these elections out, America, so long. I mean, is America always in election mode? I mean, this takes you guys forever to elect somebody, like friggin' well forever. Anyway, so let's see what we got here. Projected electoral college votes if the election was held now, right now. Clinton, 332. A possible low 268 and a possible high 347. Trump, 206 right now. But these are projected, right? Projected. And a low of 191 and a high of 270 needed to win 270. Now, what I'm really interested down here, where are they going to tell me this? I was just looking for their mythology here on a full mythological explanation can be found here. God, my tongue's fat tonight. Let's see. Well, I don't see it. I clicked on it, but I don't see it. I don't see any explanation. Nope. What do we got here? Let's see. All it says here is that Eric Grenier is CBC's poll analyst. He is the founder of 308.com, a website dedicated to political polling in Canada, has previously written for the Globe and Mail, Huffington Post Canada, The Hill Times, and a couple other papers. So what? Polls are polls, right? And I hate these polls because, especially in an election, poll guessing shouldn't be allowed in elections, okay? Because it's used to drive people one way or the other way, and their suggested polls are based on between little and nothing, and they should not in any way, shape, or form be allowed to be printed during the course of an election, because it does sway people. Most people don't have any clue what the actual issues are, so they read the paper and they go, oh, well, I guess we might as well vote for this one because this one looks like it's going to win anyways, type of attitude. So there should be no polling or poll results during an election. It's really sad that they even allow that to happen. Now let's look at a couple of comments here from our CBC comment board here. If Hillary Clinton becomes the next president of the United States of America, what is left of the middle class will vanish. That's true. It's going out the door anyways, and the only one that's going to stop it is the people. So don't worry about who gets elected. This one's up for you. If 10% of Bernie supporters switch to Trump, then Donald will be the next president, and they will. So this guy's pretty sure that Trump's going to get in, and he's saying Trump's offering jobs. The big election, Trump is nothing like Bernie. I'd be surprised if 1% switched to Trump from Bernie. Meanwhile, recent Trump stats show about 10% of Trump people crossing over to vote Democrat. Trump has alienated so many people that his own party can't stand him. Okay, so far these are pretty. Our Canada is back again, as this writer says. Trump's former racist comments could be perceived as protecting America, building wall, banning Muslims from entry. However, Trump deriding a federal court judge for his own personal court case is a pivotal moment, which is going to lead to Trump's defeat. And this is one's from an American. The judge in question belongs to the pro-Mexican organization, is on record in the past of supporting illegal Mexicans. He also a member of the Mexican organization that has called upon all Mexicans to boycott Trump's businesses. He has a huge conflict of interest and should not be on the case. That is all Trump is saying, and anyone can see the judge has been very biased towards Trump. Somebody says from the Maritimes in Canada that Trump will bury Clinton. And somebody else says, I guess that depends on how many times he opens his mouth again to say something else disparaging about another segment of the population and thus voters. Between now and voting day, he's already offered women, Latino Americans, people with disabilities, and that's on all, or he's offended, excuse me. So who's it going to be next? All of you Trump supporters love to spout about how you all love him for the fact that he's not afraid to say whatever he feels. Politically correct or not, that may endear him. At the thing rates are going, Trump will self-destruct and bury himself rather than Clinton. That's part of the self-destructive nature of a narcissist. And of course, Hillary Clinton is not narcissistic. Well, here's an interesting one. The thought of Trump negotiating with Trudeau makes me shiver. Junior would get eaten for breakfast. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So it's the typical. I don't see anything in here that has anything to do with any issue that may have been any importance to anybody in America or anywhere else. All I see is the typical childish nonsense. You know, and when I ran in the 2007 election, and I'd never run an election before that, and that was provincial or state in America, I was absolutely, I wasn't surprised at all, but I was absolutely astounded that all of the candidates all had basically the same sound bites. They all spoke on the exact same subjects with their particular colored slant, party slant on the subject. But none, there was no subject that was discussed that was any importance to anybody. None. You know, and I mean, I was so disgusted with this political nonsense that people get themselves involved in. And I mean, I encourage everyone to run because we need to get control somehow. And we got to get these lunatics the hell out of the politics. But, you know, when that NDP character come up to me after the end of the last all candidates meeting and asked to shake my hand, and this guy was in government in the Bob Rae NDP government way back in the 90s. When this guy come up and asked to shake my hand, and I said, why? And this is one of those very rare moments of truth in politics. This guy who had been in government said, do you realize that if you hadn't run in this election, not one issue of any importance would have ever been allowed to see the light of day? And you just took the real issues and you threw them up on the table, and you had us dancing. And I don't see. I mean, I haven't followed the American election, but I've seen a little bit, and it's just a bunch of bashing and a bunch of promises that are empty, a bunch of nonsense. It's what can I say to these stupid sheep that will get them to vote for me? You know, Hillary Clinton is going to be the next president of the United States. I feel very safe in saying that. All you have to do is look at the connections of the Clintons and then look at the connections of Trump. And Trump did at one time fund the Clintons. So, you know, it was done long before, you know, the show's coming to an end. And, you're going to have a lot of really ticked off people because the right, if Trump doesn't win, we got so much pent up anger on the Republican side, I mean, they went through this Ron Paul nonsense, what, twice? With all their Tea Party stuff and Ron Paul. He was just in there as a distraction. He knows what's going on. Now we got Trump in there as a distraction. So that'll be basically two Obamas and a Clinton. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Now, this has already got an awful lot of people angry on the Republican side or the right. And, I'm really begging you people not to lose it if, and I believe Trump is going to lose it, and not because I care one way or the other about either candidate, but I just cannot see any possibility of him being voted or winning the election. Too many connections on the Clinton side, too much money on the Clinton side, too much involvement on the Clinton side. And so I'm kind of asking the right, I guess, from here on in, not to lose it. I know you're going to be angry as hell, and you have every right to be angry. But it's not about Clinton and Trump or anything like that, right? It's about the American people. Okay? It's about the American people. These people don't represent, no matter who gets voted in, they don't represent you. Never did represent you. And they never will represent you. So if you want your country, if you want the nation of America to survive, then it is in the hands of the people. And the right and the left are going to somehow have to come together here and push it back. Otherwise, you're going to end up with another civil war of some sort. And again, you'll lose. Okay? You'll all lose. They want you to get into a civil war. They want the right to start shooting. Okay? Now, we do need to get the nation back. And I'm not even American. I'm Canadian. But when I say we need to get the nation back, I'm talking about us together. The Canadian nation, the American nation. We are brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying about it. We are all under the same threat. You know, if you take North America, Canada, and the United States working together, the rest of the world can go fall off the planet for all I care. Okay, we have to come back into ourselves. We have to start manufacturing what we need. Now, Canada is the second largest landmass on the planet. We have more resources than anyone per capita. America is only slightly smaller than China. China is 1.2 billion or better. And they have lots of room to live. And America is approximately 4 times, at least 3 times smaller than China population-wise, pushing 4 times smaller. And so we have all of the resources. We have all of the space. What we don't seem to have is any cojones. Okay? We don't manufacture. We allow ourselves to get gutted out. We don't make anything here. We don't make anything in Canada. You don't make anything in the United States. We got suckered into this idea of free trade. Well, it's a race to the bottom once you get on that wagon, because there's always somebody that are going to produce cheaper than you are. And why are your businesses gone in America and Canada? Because the guys that are taking us down moved all of our manufacturers offshore. Why? So they could make a greater profit. And that leaves us with no good jobs, and we're dependent. We become dependent, not independent. And we have to get back to being independent. there's and we gotta. I mean, I've said this for years, right? You know, if we in Canada just think for a minute that Canada is the only landmass on the planet, could those people on that landmass survive and thrive? Well, of course we could, because there's nothing we can't grow, manufacture, engineer right here. We're in want of no resource. So, yeah, we would get along a hell of a lot better if the rest of the world didn't exist, because we wouldn't have got tied up in all of these nonsensical corporate deals that fills the corporate players' pockets full of money while they're draining our pockets. There wouldn't be any poverty in this land. There wouldn't be homeless people in this land unless it was of their choosing. But if we take the USA, not USA, America, screw the USA, America, the American people and the Canadian people, and we show a little fortitude, stiffen our spines a little bit, sharpen up our minds a little bit, we can eradicate all the poverty in our nations. We can produce everything we require in our nations. And we'd be a lot more, and I hate the word sustainable, but we'd be a lot more sustainable because we could go back to manufacturing products that last a long, long time. Not this garbage coming out of the East. New appliances last an average of 5 to 7 years now. You used to build washing machines here in North America last 30 years. Now that's sustainable. You go build yourself a washer dryer that lasts 30 years versus 5 years, that's called sustainable because you don't have to use as much stuff. I mean, we don't. My brother-in-law has it now, and I love it. It's a 1956, I believe it is, McClary refrigerator. I bought that thing in, I think, probably maybe 82 as a fridge for the service station I had or whatever the hell I bought it for. Took it out, put it at the cottage, used it for a beer fridge out there. When I sold the cottage, I give the beer fridge to my brother-in-law, who used it for a beer fridge for years and years and years. He gave it to my other brother-in-law, who's got it in his garage now, use it for a beer fridge. And in all those years, nobody can recall anybody. I never put a wrench on it, and neither of my two brother-in-laws have ever put a wrench on it or spent a dime on the damn thing. And there it is, purring away like a kitten. And as my one brother-in-law that has it now said, this thing hardly uses any electricity. It's an amazing fridge. Well, if we managed to build that in 1956, why is it our appliances are blowing up on us in a few years? Why is that? Well, because it's on purpose. You keep working, that's what they want. They keep you working. And you keep buying that junk coming out of China or wherever the hell else it comes out of. And they say, well, it's inexpensive. Well, it's not inexpensive if you got to replace it every 5 to 7 years. It gets damned expensive. So you're getting hosed some more. So we got to get back to manufacturing our own stuff, growing our own food, getting rid of the pesticides off our land, the poison out of our water. And the only way we can do that is to take back our nations by and for the people, not by and for the corporation. Every one of your politicians, every judge, every cop, and your military, none of them represent you. because they can't. They didn't take an oath to you. So we need to change this stuff up completely and quickly. So on the one hand, I'm looking forward to Hillary Clinton winning, because maybe that will finally drive reality into the minds that are looking for a Republican hero to come along. You know, a Dirty Harry or, whatever, to come along and save America. Well, ain't nobody going to save America but Americans. That's it. That's your choice. So don't worry about the polls. Don't worry about the vote. Don't worry about who wins. What you do need to worry about is that you have, and I have, we all have a duty to our forefathers who came and hacked this land out and give us a place to live as they tried to escape tyranny. We're in tyranny up to our necks now. Okay, the freedom that they sought for their offspring, whatever there was of it, we've lost it completely. We've completely handed it back to the tyrants. So now we got to get back to the attitude of our forefathers, because if we don't, your children, grandchildren, and those yet not born do not have a hope in hell of having a decent life. So don't worry about the election. Don't look for a hero. They don't exist. Okay? The people have to come together. They've done a beautiful job of fracturing the people, splintering the people off into I don't know how many different groups. I mean, they're probably making up a new one right now to splinter the people further, to have the people fighting against each other, disagreeing with each other. I mean, when you get down to brass tacks, what's important? A place to live, a safe neighborhood, a neighborhood that cares about each other, a neighborhood to look after your kid. You don't have to take it to a child daycare center, government run. You get your neighborhood schools, you grow your food, you create your and manufacture your products, and you work together. That's all a country really is and ever can be. And they've taken all that away from people, and we got to get back to it. With the understanding that we have the capacity and the ability to grow, manufacture, and engineer anything that we need for our people. Now, if somebody wants to trade with us afterwards, fine. That'll be on our terms. And until we get to that mindset, we're lost. And we're going to continue to go down the drain, as planned, regardless of who you vote in. Because whoever you vote in has already been vetted. And they ain't representing you. So, when Hillary gets in, just stay calm. We're just going to go arrest her and everybody that's in there. And there's going to be the same thing with Trump. I mean, these people are all nutcases. If you really think Trump gives a damn about you, well, you got some thinking to do and some learning to do. So don't get too caught up in this election, people. Just put it aside and don't worry about it. Anyways, we're out of time for today. We're back Saturday night on Revolution Radio, 10 until midnight. And Saturday night, tune in, because I got a really good show planned for Saturday night. Till then, everybody take care. Keep your stick on the ice, so to speak, and we are out of here.